Hi from Santa Barbara. Welcome to Compassionate Connection. I am your hostess, Gigi Amore. The purpose of our show is to share with you how to connect compassionately when we learn to communicate effectively within ourselves and with others. We can transform and enrich our lives and relationships. It's an exciting thing to research and check out how to go about this language of peace. We have a perfect example of it tonight. We have a very special guest, Susan Allan, with us. Thank you for being here, Susan.
You're welcome. I'm at my peaceful best.
As usual. I love it. And now tonight I'm really excited and enthusiastic because I know this will be another very helpful, informative show on advanced pro-dating. And Susan has the skills and the knowledge on this. I'll tell you a little about her now. It's like a mystery. Now, Susan Allan is the founder of the Marriage Forum. She is, in fact, a marriage officiant and America's leading marriage and divorce coach. Susan is the author of 3 books, including The Merry-Go-Round, and she is also a certified mediator and is certified in Herman Brain Dominance, used by 90% of the Fortune companies. Her 6-part conversation allows us to create peaceful and cooperative conversations so that marriages continue to be loving and passionate. Susan has also been seen on Fox News and on hundreds of television and radio shows demonstrating the results that we can create when we do in fact transform the way we think, listen, speak and act, and focus on solutions instead of on problems. Susan offers a complimentary 1-hour private telephone session so that everyone can transform their business, their family, and their life. So here we go. We have a lot to learn. I know, Susan, that many people, they waste years or, like me, maybe even lifetimes in relationships that aren't working because they don't know the steps to take and find and create relationships. So tonight, as our special guest, you will help me through these steps.
I will straighten everyone out by the end of this hour. You will know exactly what you're doing that works, and you'll know exactly what you're doing that's not such a great idea.
Thank you, Susan. I'm taking note. Okay, well, to open everything up here, does everyone who studies dating with you do they really even want a fabulous relationship?
It's so amazing. Some people call me for, I teach so many different things, and I teach so many different people different categories. So many people call me to talk about dating. They say they want to take the pro-dating program, and then they get sidetracked talking about all their miserable relationships. They get stuck on the problem instead of learning about the solution. Now, a woman just said to me yesterday, well, I don't know. I mean, we've been working on a lot of other things, Susan, and I don't really know if I want to learn your pro-dating program because I don't know if I really want to have a fabulous relationship right now. I don't know if I'm really ready to have a fabulous relationship right now. So here's what I said. Number 1, a fabulous relationship may take some time. You have to create the skills, you have to find the person, you have to develop it. It may take some time, So she has to learn a whole lot of skills, and she has to find this person, and she has to practice this with the person, and really create this loving, intimate relationship. And I said, and if you tripped over the guy yesterday, you'd be so thrilled, you'd be ready. Ooh. That's how it works, because then your chemistry takes over and you go, oh, I'm hysterical, I'm thrilled, this is wonderful, get out of my way.
Oh, I love that. Okay, well, that's encouraging.
Yes.
I'm curious then, what can make a great lifelong relationship?
So Fred, if you will grab the whole brain model from Herman Brain Dominance, thank you so much. And what makes a fabulous lifelong relationship is understanding who you are on the Herman Brain Dominance map, understanding who your partner is, and making sure that as you develop this relationship over years and decades, that enough of your needs and enough of his or her needs are met. And that means that you really pay attention. Thank you, Fred. And Fred, you might even want to just keep that up, intermittently on the screen in the small version. Unless you understand what your needs are, unless you understand what your partner's needs are, there's no possibility of it being a wonderful lifelong relationship. I mean, there's not a snowball's chance in hell. So that's the key. And for everybody, it's the same. And, it's only 4 thinking styles. It's not 40. So you don't have to memorize a lot. And if you ask me and you want me to email you the map, I'll email it to you. So you'll really be able to study it.
Thank you, Susan. That makes a lot of sense, of course. Now, I know that it does sound as if so many people, they do in fact have illusions about love. They aren't real. And that, of course, blocks them from finding a great relationship. Isn't that really the truth?
Illusions, delusions, right, of course. There's nothing wrong with being a romantic teenager as long as you know you're a romantic teenager. You can be a romantic teenager for your entire life. My mother certainly was. My mother died when she was in her late 70s, and she was still a romantic teenager. But, that's who she was. And she didn't, have any illusions. She was a brilliant businesswoman, but when it came to romance, she, kind of peaked at around 17. And that's just it. And so you know who you are, you know what your needs are, you know who your partner is, you know what your partner's needs are. And as I now know her former husband so well, I've known him, most of my life, and I see him with his current wife, he's a different guy. He was very playful and very young when he was with my mother. He's much more serious now. It's interesting. And he's very happy. He's very happy, but it's just very interesting. So a lifelong relationship means you really understand yourself and your partner and you make adjustments.
Of course, yes, consider the other person. That makes sense.
Yeah, and who that person really is. Not, not your fantasy about them or your story about them, but who is that person really?
Stick with the facts again.
Yeah, you really have to. If you want a lifelong relationship, you've got to base it on solid grounds. I say most relationships, actually, the people that call me, which is why they're calling me, it's a house of cards resting on quicksand. Basically, like, get out and get out quickly, or fix it. Shore it up, put some cement, as much cement as you need in that quicksand, and then put some real walls up. Build something.
So it'd be great for people to contact you before they get to that.
Before they're like,
slippery
shaking, exactly. Yeah.
A calmer state.
Please,
oh, no.
please.
Well, okay, how about this question? We hear a lot about, of course, unconditional love, and I'm really curious, what does that really mean?
So unconditional love means that you really mean it when you say that your partner's needs getting met is as important to you as your own needs getting met, and that you value and adore this person just as he or she is. Okay, I'm going to let that sink in.
Oh, I love that, acceptance and love.
And I don't mean you now say to your partner, see, that's what I want you to feel about me. I don't mean that. I mean, this is for us to think about ourselves. Are we actually offering unconditional love. It's about us.
I like that. That's a huge question for people to ponder on. Okay, you can give it if you want it.
Yeah, and all friendships are based, really good, solid friendships are based on unconditional love. It's different, it's, non-sexual, but it's unconditional love and acceptance as well. If you think that your best friend, your good friend is going to be something different tomorrow, because you don't like the way he or she is today, you know that that doesn't work. It doesn't work anywhere.
Exactly. Another reality check. Thank you, Susan. Oh boy, the truth. Well, let's explore this. The same items I know are crucial for most people who are really interested in that committed relationship. So please explain to us what those are.
Sure, because it's all based on the whole brain model. So if you look at the blue quadrant, it's all about facts and figures and dollars and numbers. So people have a need for financial security or financial stability. If it's the lower left part of the brain, it's support, monogamy, cleanliness in the home, order in the home, paying the bills on time, all of the things that have to do with safety and order. The lower right brain is all about passion and romance and sex and intimacy and communication. And the upper right brain is tricky in an intimate relationship because the upper right brain is about peace. And it's often about privacy. And it may be about nature. And it may be about silence. So people who are very upper right brain don't do very well in long-term committed relationships because they don't really want to be in long-term committed relationships. They want to be at peace, they want to meditate, they want to have a lot of privacy. And it's important to know what's a realistic opportunity with somebody and what probably is not.
That makes a lot of sense, of course. Consider what they value and if you really do fit in.
Yeah, I have a very dear friend who's a former TM teacher, and he's always in a committed relationship because that's very important to him, but he always has his own room in the house too, because meditation is important to him and quiet is important to him.
Well, it must be working out. Oh, good. See, it can work out.
Yes,
That's what
as
it's
long
about.
as long as everybody's cooperating.
That's the key word right there. Thank you, Susan. So I know that this sounds like, well, it sounds as if we need a checklist, number one, for dating, because people say they can't find that partner with everything. They want a partner. So what would you suggest would be a checklist?
Well, this is just the basics, and Fred, I think you have the checklist for us, is that right? And there we go. So you can see you need mental stability. Who doesn't need that, right? You need kindness, certainly financial stability, because you can't have a consistent long-term relationship that you can build on if there isn't stability, and these are the kinds of stability we're talking about. And of course, health, that's another kind of instability if health is missing. Monogamy, mutual attractiveness, and peace. So those are just the basics. And really, in the thousands of people I've worked with, I would say every single one of them who was either in a satisfying committed relationship or looking for one mentioned those different key points.
Very nice. That's very clear, just to
Yeah.
have it written up like that.
And it's just a handful of things. So, yeah, you may say he's got to be a blonde with blue eyes, or you may say she's got to be, 5'9" and wear a certain bra size, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. It's just that these are the basics. So add the different details on top of the basics. Don't forget the basics.
For success, that's the way to go.
Please.
And thinking of success, how do
Yes.
these couples who have been lucky enough like to find a great love, how do they really keep that passion alive?
Creativity, the inventiveness, the upper right brain as it plays into inventiveness and creativity and fun is the only way that you can keep passion alive. It's the only way. And the only way that you would think about being creative and fun and passionate is if you have great chemistry together. You know, and you have to be very sexy, because if you're not very sexy, you're not going to be thinking of new sexy things to do with each other. So that's the way it works. You know, couples who are very passionate have kind of a double-edged sword. On the one hand, they can be very passionate about each other and keep things very fresh and keep things very alive. But at the same time, it's very tempting for them to keep things very alive with somebody else. So you have to find someone who has a balance between the lower right brain passion, the upper right brain creativity and fun, and the lower left brain stability and monogamy. And we'll talk about it as we go on tonight with the show. We'll be talking about how to really identify if that person's got that.
Oh boy, that's what we're all hopeful for.
Because you can't just hope for the best. I mean, you know, that's a disaster.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, I know that you've quoted the Enlightened Masters saying in a relationship it needs to be 95% wonderful. Is that really possible?
Yeah, you know, Ajahn Shanti came to Santa Barbara many years ago, a brilliant enlightened master, a young Buddhist, and this woman was up on stage with him, and she was complaining about her boyfriend. And in just a couple of minutes, you know, Ajahn said, if it's not wonderful 95% of the time, what are you doing? And she was just kind of shocked, because she really wanted to just complain and have him kind of wave a magic wand. And it's so true. If your relationship isn't wonderful, there are 8 billion people on the planet Earth. If your job or your career isn't wonderful, you have endless choices to create something different. If where you live, your home, is not wonderful, you know? So people are afraid of change because it's a whole lot of work and it makes them feel unsure and unsettled, which I understand. At the same time, the beauty about change is you can get rid of some situation that you really don't enjoy and replace it with something wonderful.
Oh, that makes sense.
You know, and that's like a dream. So there you go.
That's how
Please.
it works.
Yes.
Yes, please consider that.
Yes, please.
And that can be a win-win for what comes forward. Well, okay, this is a big one. What about the chemistry issue? I know that's really crucial for most everybody. And how do they go about that if they want a great relationship in that too?
Chemistry, chemistry, chemistry. It's like with real estate and, you know, in retail stores. Location, location, location. And with dating and marriage and all that, from all the thousands of people I've worked with, as well as my own experience, you know, passion, passion, passion. You've got to. Because you're not looking, this person is not your banker. This person is not your new best friend. This person is not your cook or your cleaning lady. Though any one of these things may be part of it, this is the person you say you want to make love with for the rest of your life, and most of you say that to the exclusion of all others. Naturally, passion is key, because otherwise you're going to feel like a prostitute. And I've heard many, many people say that. You know, they married someone because enough of their needs were met, but not passion, not chemistry. And then they feel resentful. By the second week, they feel that they've made a horrible mistake and they don't know how to get out of it. So please avoid that pitfall.
Thank you, Susan. That's really important. Oh my. So chemistry, God, take note. That does matter. Well, now what happens when, let's say, you need change during a relationship? How can you factor that in?
Well, you know, it's interesting. My first husband and I talked about that, and I remember this is so many years later, you know, like 40 years later, I guess. And he said, couples have to decide to grow together, which I thought, for a guy who was, 26, 7 years old, I thought that was a very brilliant and mature observation. Couples have to decide to grow together. Well, he's my ex-husband, so that tells you my decision. But, but the advice is brilliant advice. If you really want to have a wonderful relationship, you are not making decisions on your own. You're making decisions as part of a couple. And that's the real key. Why do most relationships fall apart? Because you never were a couple. You never merged two into one. So whether you're just engaged, whether you're just dating, or whether you're marrying, you have to get to that moment where you merge into each other. And then the decisions you make must be mutually satisfying.
Oh, I love that. That real togetherness on all levels. Okay, that's the ultimate. Now, what about honesty and online dating? How do you really find out if the person is telling you the truth?
Well, first of all, I teach online dating as a component of pro dating. And please assume that you're going to get 1 to 3 lies in every profile. And your job is to finesse for information. So if you don't think that woman really is 35 and you're thinking the second or the third photo don't really look like 35, then you're, going to start asking questions about college or how long she's had the career. But you're not going to just, ask questions as if you're a traffic cop. How fast were you going? What was the posted speed limit? You're going to say, so that must have been really fun, growing up in Santa Barbara in the 70s and, being in junior high then, that must have been really fun because you've done your math. And now if she goes, because actually she was already graduating from, college then you can tell. But you have to be the one who finesses for information. Same thing, women in age, men in height, and money. So that's usually, where it comes around. Another thing with women is whether they have grown children, and are their grown children really out of the house? Because, a lot of women are thrilled that their children are back because they're not in a committed relationship, and maybe they will throw their kids out if you become the new person in their life. But, you really have to finesse for information. Oh, you must be so thrilled to have, 2 twin, boys who are, 27 years old, and I guess you see a lot of them. It must be a really important part of your life. And again, listen for the Well, she sees a lot of them because she has breakfast with them every morning, or she doesn't see a lot of them because they can't stand her and they don't talk to her. This is you finessing for information. It's really key. And again, please remember, when you read the profile, you're going to get 1 to 3 lies in every profile. And again, with men, it's usually height and money. And with women, it's usually age and weight. Sometimes money as well.
Oh, thank you. Okay, those are the top numbers to be aware of, and I love that, just to get in and
just
verify.
Yeah, exactly. Just know that that's what you're getting into, and that's why I teach people how to do the email part of it, finessing for information, how to do the telephone call, finessing for information, and then after about 2 emails and 2 phone calls, immediately meet that person for coffee or a drink, because you want to find out who this person is before you talk yourself into some fantasy love affair. We've all had phone calls with people who we thought were going to be the next best thing in the world, the next best thing since Oreos, and you meet them and oh my God, get me out of here.
Another reality check.
Yeah, but you want it to be the other way. Like when I remember going out on a date with somebody who Gigi knows, and he lives here, so I won't mention his name, but it was so funny. He met me for a drink at Cava in Montecito, and he was so upset because he already had made a dinner date with somebody else, assuming I was going to be horrible. And he kept saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't stay very long." And then it was really funny. Like 2 hours later, he calls me and wants to see me later. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't. I decided I'd get involved with a work project. I said, I guess your dinner didn't go very well, huh? So, don't stack them up over Cleveland. Your date for coffee or a drink may go very well, and then you want to expand it into a dinner.
His loss.
is so funny, so funny.
Oh my gosh. Oh boy, little player. Well, anyhow, I know that you've said that we need to approach the first emails, the first conversations, and the first dates as if we're interviewing someone for a job opening. I love
You
that.
are. It is a job, right? And I don't mean it's a job because you're a lot of work. I don't mean that. But it is a job, you know? So, for example, I remember my first husband never watched sports on television in the 6 months that we lived together before we got married, not once. And about a week after we got married, he had some game on, and I looked at him and I said, what? I didn't even know you liked sports. Oh, yeah, why? I said, because all the months we were together, like days and days and days at a time, you never, ever turned on a game, ever. And I would have noticed because I despise sports on television. I hate it. And I wouldn't have married you, for heaven's sakes, you know. And he was clearly deceiving me. Clearly.
My gosh.
So you have to really understand, you've got to finesse for information, because if people are really crazy about you, they may not want you to know things about them that would prevent you from marrying them. At the same time, once they've married you, it's what I call the 5-minute rule. 5 minutes after, you know, you marry him or her, you may find out some things that are very upsetting. So your job is to finesse for information. That's your job.
Not giving a pass and letting it go. We have to check things out. Oh, thank you, Susan.
Well, you know the story about my second husband. My second husband had a snoring problem after we had been married for, I don't know, 3 months. So again, innocently, I said to him, I don't understand. When we were, again, living together for 6 months before we got married, you never snored. And he looked at me and said, because I never slept. Which, I mean, really. So that one I probably would not have been able to finesse. But now you've heard it, so now you be on your guard.
Isn't that something? Okay, well, I think I need a break.
Fair enough.
We're going to enjoy a clip now with our favorite Reverend Bernard Goodman, and this is going to be about City of Light. Please enjoy.
Santa Barbara is going to give birth to the first future city of light. First future city of light. They've never said that before. You're all part of that. You all have a piece of that you're going to give to that birthing. Even the blonde over there. In order for Santa Barbara, and when we say Santa Barbara, we mean the entire county, not just Santa Barbara itself, Montecito and Goleta and all that, without giving specifics, because there's a lot of land out there. In order for the Santa Barbara to be the first city of light, it has to also be the first future city of light. Because you can't have a city of light unless it's something futuristic. Because the way it is now, it isn't. So something has to be made different. What's going to be made different is, first of all, the energy of the area, and secondly, the construction of what's going to create a city of light somewhere. You know, I got to share something else with you. Something they gave me years ago that I've been sharing with people is something they call spiritual Hollywood. And what they said was that a lot of people were going to be moving up here. They said this years ago. And I have seen and heard and read that that exactly what's happening. Robert Zemeckis lives here. Jonathan Winters lives here. Chris, the guy on X-Files lives here. A lot of people live here, all right? And they've moved here from other places intentionally, all right? even if they don't know why. They just moved here, because I have a lot of people who have told me, I moved here, I don't even know why I'm here, but I'm supposed to be here. And so they are moving the chess pieces on a board, if you will. They're moving people here because this is where it's going to begin. Maybe with my movie, I don't know, but this is where it's going to begin. A lot of things are being born here in this area. I don't know why. This is the way it is. Okay, they're saying this is going to be the center of a new universe. They've never said this before, people. You're the first to hear this. Are you people sitting down? Do you have your seatbelts tightened? What they're showing me is this tremendous. Is that a word, humendous? What word am I looking for?
Can be.
And tremendous. See, they combine two words without me even knowing it. Humendous vortex. And the way they're describing the vortex is like a cone upside down, or actually a cone, all right? And the bottom of the cone is going to be here, okay, without giving specifically where. Now, one of the things I used to do for many years before was I'd always go to the Biltmore and have a lot of meetings at the Biltmore with the people I was with metaphysically, and we would always know or see that there were a lot of vortexes outside on the ocean, outside where the Biltmore is, and of course dolphins would come and dance and all that stuff. Now they're saying that the vortex that they're sending here, and I have no time frame for this, is going to make this the new center of the universe on Earth. Which is why all of you are living here, by the way, which is why you're going to be moving to here. Okay, they're getting biblical here. Millions of years ago, who's ever talking has no mouth. Millions of years ago, on this piece of property or land was the origination of 5-star human beings coming to Earth for the first time. They planted seeds in the ground so deep that nobody will know about them until they know about them. Their mission was to integrate the soil of humanity into the soil of this ground. These seeds are going to repopulate this area with an energy that will be receptive to the vortex that is on its way to planet Earth. When that vortex reaches this zone of operation, those of you who are attached to that, those of you who are involved with that, those of you who are connected to that vortex will feel the change of energy, will become the change of that energy, will begin to transform and perform deeds beyond human ability. Now, Bernard knows how real that is because in past lives he was a Kung Fu monk, and when he was doing martial arts, he did things in this lifetime he was not taught in this lifetime. He still does that, by the way. So it had to come from somewhere. So it came from a past life. And he does things that are very, very advanced compared to whatever you see now in the movies or stuff like that. So given, and he was told recently he had 26 past lives. He has no idea how true that is, but he was told by somebody allegedly who would know that. So given you all have past lives, if you all accept the fact that you've all had past lives, and that different parts of those past lives or different lives of those lives come up and show up in this lifetime in whatever ways they do, like you with horses, then it would also stand to reason that you were here when the star people came as the first originals of planet Earth humans. Now, there is always a question of, did Earth become the starburst, or Adam and Eve, or Darwin's evolution? The difference between man and God, and this is something you might want to remember, the difference between man and God is man is either or, God is and. The origin of planet Earth were all three. It came from a star into a physical property of circular proportion after they realized it wasn't flat, although some still believe the Earth is flat, like their heads. And then through evolution, humans became from animals below them, which are the walking dolphins, which are going to be returning on land, which some people have already seen. And Adam and Eve in the Bible were the example of the first humans to be born in human form, although archaeologists could show you the evolution from Neanderthal man to where we are today. Some of us still have our gills and tails. Interesting. In the movie The Relic, which Bernard loves, the kids ask Penelope Ann Miller, who is a doctor, what does she do? She's an evolutionary biologist. My job is to find out where your tails went. Brilliant line, but true.
You know, I got the most amazing email from Bernard this week. You know, after thousands of emails, I would say this is the most amazing. Because he sent me an email with a link to a YouTube video that the former Minister of Defense of Canada, so this is a real person, has just written a book about his proof that there are 4 species of aliens living among us. So, you know, I was pretty stunned, as I imagine, you know, you guys might be. But anyway, you can look it up on YouTube. There are actually 2 videos. I haven't read the book, but certainly was convincing. Certainly was a serious video. So you never know. And Bernard is always channeling things for you and for me and for people that we know. And it doesn't seem real at the moment, but then suddenly it is.
Yes, absolutely.
So it isn't real until it arrives.
He's full of surprises, but it's for real.
Exactly, yes.
Oh my gosh, fascinating. Well, keep us updated on that.
I certainly will. I certainly promise.
Oh my gosh, it sounds like another book. Well, moving forward, I want to know about this speed dating. And can it really create wonderful relationships?
Well, it creates the beginning. You know, in speed dating, you know, no, 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 maybe. No, 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 kinda. No, 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 ooh. Right, well, that ooh, that doesn't mean that you're going to marry this person or that you want to. It means that there's enough aesthetic chemistry. You know, aesthetic chemistry is different from, you know, sexual chemistry. Because aesthetic chemistry, you're sitting across the table. So the person looks attractive enough for you. But that doesn't mean that it would last, and that doesn't mean that it would go the distance. But speed dating is a great way to meet a lot of people very quickly. But, you know, so is Match.com. You know, Match.com, you can really fast. And I prefer that in teaching people how to really assess what they're looking for, really assess whether somebody can potentially meet their needs or not. I prefer using Match.com because it's faster.
Okay, that makes sense. Get those results in. Mm-hmm. Well, now this is one that is very interesting to me. What about the people that go on a date and then they spill their guts and tell you everything about themselves? Does that really work?
Well, you know, it's their strategy to create connection, you know. So if somebody's going to tell you about their parents and about their children and about their siblings and about college and their job and their home and their first wife and da-da-da. So clearly that's a very lower right-brained approach. Let's really get to know each other. Let me put all my cards out on the table. But are they really putting all their cards out on the table? I doubt it. So you have to really be able to listen in between the sentences. If somebody tells you about their first marriage, let's say, well, is that because they still are hung up on their wife or their husband? Or is it because they're trying to distract you from how bad the divorce was and hope you won't ask? They say that this was a nice person, etc. So you really have to be intelligent. What is the information that you're getting? What's the information that's missing? Even if they were, God forbid, to talk about themselves all night, that doesn't mean they've told you everything.
I like that. I'd rather have them talking, at least that way
Sure.
you can pay attention
Sure.
in between the lines.
Sure. But you don't want someone who talks and talks, because then you think, well, I'll never get a word in.
Absolutely. Yeah. What about me?
Right. Which is true.
There
What
we
about
go.
you?
Oh. Thank you, Susan. Okay, well, this is something that people talk about, the ick factor. That quality that just makes the person undesirable, and we ignore it. What's up with that?
You know, some people are really desperate. Some people are really desperate to find a partner. Now, many of you know that I've had 16 marriage proposals. And 2 of those marriage proposals were on first dates. Now, they didn't know me from Adam. So obviously, there was a certain desperation that everything I said about myself they liked, everything they could see about me they liked. They got the basic idea that this was going to be wonderful, and they were desperate. And they were certainly, you know, they seemed to be nice guys. One of them I went out with one more time just to see was there any possibility for me. And the second one I didn't go out with again. And there was no real ick, but if you think about actually marrying somebody, then that's this kind of standard you have to set for yourself. If you think about having a date with somebody, you'd probably be willing to date a lot of people. But if you think about really seriously spending the rest of your life with somebody, and that's what I'm asking you to do, I'm asking you to really be serious here, really take a hard look, then from most people you're going to go, ah! Because you know how when you look at your friends' partners, mostly you can't even imagine going out with them? And that's why it's so surprising that most cheating is with the best friend. It's always so surprising to me, because not only is that not the way you and I operate, you and I are very loyal people, but I've never had a really good friend whose partner seemed at all attractive to me. You haven't either.
No.
No, I mean, quite the contrary. It's like, oh my goodness. So, you know, listen to that experience, that ick factor, if you will, and people are what they are, and you're not going to like them more over time. The odds of liking somebody more over time is that very rare person who has an enormous amount of character and depth. That's what you're looking for.
Oh, that's perfectly said. Thank you, Susan. The dimensions of a relationship. I think I mentioned that to someone earlier today that's watching.
That they were missing that?
There's more to it than that.
Okay, good.
Okay, well, okay, let's explore what about people who do, in fact, they just ignore those warning signs in a relationship.
I was just talking with a client recently who told me that she had been warned about a guy who people told her in his previous relationship, the other women had been upset, in tears, very distraught. And the idea we have is, oh, it will be different with me. He or she will value me. He or she will never treat me that way. Well, let me tell you, they treated me that way every time. All the different ways I thought I would never be treated, whether it was a client when I was in the fashion industry, whether it was, you know, men when I was younger, If they treat people that way, they treat people that way. And yes, you may be so spectacular, I don't believe they will see that in you. They only have a certain limited ability to see other people, like the rest of us. So we see what we see, and that's the way they treat people, that's the way you will be treated. Be careful.
Boy, that's the truth. In all relationships, pay attention, yes. Well, thank you. I paid attention to that one. Now, what about the bad boys and the bad girls and all the people who seem addicted to excitement? Does that ever work out well?
Well, you know, I used to laugh and I used to say, well, if I could, you know, wait till he's in his 70s, you know, then maybe he would kind of calm down a little bit, and, you know, maybe then, you know, and all that. But with Viagra, you don't really have that anymore. You know, you don't have that opportunity of somebody really calming down anymore. So it's not a plan if you want a peaceful, lifelong relationship. Now, you may not want a peaceful, lifelong relationship. You may want a lot of fun and excitement. That's how you're going to get it. But just know that you've got to keep your adrenal health going. You can't live on a roller coaster and not pay the price at some point. So you want to really be careful with your adrenal state. And adrenals, of course, are what affects neurotransmitters. And that's how people end up feeling anxious and depressed, because they've exhausted their adrenals. And when that happens, then the neurotransmitters aren't created in the, the necessary quantity. So if you want more information about that, please send me an email and I'll send you my doctor's reports about it. Very interesting stuff.
Oh, thank you. That's really something to highly consider. Absolutely. Now, this is a good question. I like this. So let's say that when someone meets one need, the need of excitement, and not all of the other needs. Sometimes relationship meets, let's say, half of our needs and we feel trapped. How do we solve that one?
You feel torn. Torn, right?
Okay.
Yeah, you feel torn. Where half of your needs are met and half of your needs are not met?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a nonviolent communication term called torn, where you feel kind of pulled in half. So the tragedy of that is that you don't want to give up the half of the needs that are being met, right? Maybe your need for passion is met, maybe your need for intelligent conversations met, maybe your need for money and lifestyle is met, maybe your need for humor and fun is met, but your need for peace isn't met, your need for monogamy isn't met, your need for kindness isn't met, your need for planning a future together isn't met. I'm only describing a couple of the relationships I survived. Your torn may look different from mine, but it's excruciating. And what happens is, eventually, the needs that are not getting met start to scream to you. And the needs that are getting met, you just get to the point where you just don't care anymore. And so instead of waiting all that time, because, you know, if you're a woman and you want to have children, you can't wait all that time. So the smart move is to just realize it on the first date, the second date, the third date, and really understand who these people are and who they're not, and move on, and understand that you must discipline yourself. If half of your needs are not met, you must discipline yourself and move on. I don't care whether it's a cleaning lady, a car, a boss, an employee, a roommate or housemate, or a life partner. Be vigilant about this.
Thank you, Susan. I know you've advised me that many times over the years. It's a project I'm working on.
Good.
Very important. So I'm guessing, are you really saying that we should give up if all of our needs aren't met?
Well, you know, your life has to be wonderful. And so if your partner is ruining, you know, raining on your parade day after day after day because his needs are different, then yeah, what's the point? Unless you have small children. So if you have small children and you don't have $5 million, you have a problem. You know, you really do. That's the show we did about divorce, and call me and we'll talk about that. But if you're talking about walking away from a relationship that doesn't meet enough of your needs before you have children, it's an easy decision. Yes, I'm saying go. Go and go now. Because if you're frustrated and annoyed and disappointed and angry now, it isn't going to get better. And there are 8 billion people on the planet Earth that you can pick from.
Very good advice again. Thank you, Susan. Next.
Exactly.
I know that this isn't a show about divorce, which we have covered before, but I would just want you to remind our audience about reconciliation. What percent of relationships in America can be transformed versus, let's say, other countries?
Beautiful. I lived in India. So India is the home of arranged marriages, as are many other countries, in Asia and the Far East. So in a country where there's an arranged marriage, there's no reconciliation because there was never that real bond, that real love for most of those marriages anyway. They're together in order to stabilize the culture. They're there in order to raise children in a particular religion and spiritual and cultural way. That's not America. But in America, you married for love, you adored each other on your wedding day at least, and you have 100% possibility of reconciliation. But you need to learn some new tools and skills, and so you can either review our marriage shows that Gigi and I did over the last couple of months, or please call me for a free consultation. 100% reconciliation is possible when people married of their own free will, not to please their parents.
That's awesome. Now, what is the most important aspect of transforming any relationship into a wonderful one?
It is unconditional love. When you truly adore your partner, you want to make life more wonderful for him or for her, to use Marshall Rosenberg's term. You want to make life more wonderful for that other person. When you come from that place, naturally, life will become more wonderful. And if you really make life more wonderful for your partner, then he or she will reciprocate. Now, they may not reciprocate the first day, week, month, but in that second, third month, for sure, if you are making life more wonderful, you will receive more love, more care, more cooperation, and more kindness.
Oh, I love that. So see, you can really put forth something and make a difference.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely. There's nothing that's hopeless, and if it looks hopeless to you, that's an opportunity for you to call and have an hour of my life. Happy to give it to you.
She is. Really, I know you love that. Well, Susan, I once again want to thank you so much for giving us all the steps to succeed at Pro Dating Program and to really create a loving, wonderful relationship.
My pleasure.
Gosh, I love it. You make it sound so easy, and I hope everybody gets it.
It is easy, like anything else. If you learn how to play baseball, then baseball's easy. Otherwise, forget it.
Perfectly said. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Oh my. Well, I just want to share a few announcements. The Compassionate Connection show is live. We're in going into our 9th year already. And we really enjoy and we do appreciate hearing from you. And everything that you have to share with us, I enjoy. It's awesome. And also, we're on throughout the week, live every Tuesday from 8 to 9. Once again, surprising times throughout the week. If you do have some questions, challenges, concerns in your personal life, we really, once again, would like to hear from you. Our number is 805-698-8233. Thank you, Fred, for having it up there. ggmore@cox.net. And you can go to our website, compassionateconnection.tv, and you can really reflect on all this information that we come up with and Now I'd like to reflect on our special guest and what she has going on. So many things in Santa Barbara. This one, the Ask the Love and Relationship Coach column. This is in our Santa Barbara Family Life magazine, and it's also available online, sbfamilylife.com. You give great advice in there, very enticing
you.
questions. I read it every month.
Thank you.
And if you do want that 1 hour free conversation with Susan, please give her a call. She's up for it, 805-694-8405, or you could even email her, susan@susanallen.org. And boy, that's a gift in itself, 1 hour.
Let's solve everything.
Yeah, and you make it simple. Now, next week, our guest will be Ravel Orr. It will be one of those very entertaining shows. And I'd just like to say a special thank you to a show contributor. Thank you, Dr. Mark Dreblow, for your support. And another sponsor, Lucia Salon. A lot of S's in there, but I love you, Lucy. And also right here in our studio, just a special thank you to Matt, Mark, JP, Oscar. Over the years, so many. We're in absolute gratitude of your encouragement of all of our shows. And of course, our personal TV family here, our director, Fred Winter. Love you, Fred. Couldn't do the show without you, even though you could probably do without us. And Tyler Geck, our technical support. And for our audience, I'm just wishing you a just permanent, constant, countless moments of inescapable, compassionate connections. Thank you and good night.